TBTL.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Friday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live. My name is Luke Burbank. I am your host, coming to you from the Hollywood Broadcast Center right here in beautiful, sunny Portland, Oregon.
Attention, everybody, mesdames and Miss Waz.
Now, normally this is the part of the show where I complain about the weather, or talk about the cat, or promote a number of stories that we will never get to. But we're doing something different today because we have a big announcement here on TBTL.
This is a serious message to everybody watching my update right now.
So we are just going to get right to it, first of all, by introducing the longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. He is Andrew Walsh. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke.
How you feeling, buddy?
It's funny that you should ask that because I have a sticky note here that I wrote to myself last night on my computer, and it just says, "How are we feeling?" Because last night I was playing darts thinking about today's show, a show that has been sort of long in the making. A lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of professional communications going on. And,
how do you think, more critically, the listeners are feeling
as
at
we
this
drag
moment?
this out?
Like, I feel like they're just
Everything about them just makes me nervous.
like I feel like the listeners are bracing for something.
I know. Well, we'll get to it. The thing about TBTL is you don't want to rush it. You know what I mean?
No, and also we know our listeners famously don't get worried about the survival of the program, about, you know, yours and my safety and things like that. I mean, this is a famously kind of low anxiety listener group, so there's no way they're mildly freaking out here, 4 minutes into the program.
But the reason I wrote this note to myself was I was thinking about today's show and what we're going to talk about today, and we're about to talk about it. We'll get there. You'll know when we're talking about it. But then it occurred to me...
What we talk about when we talk about what we're going to talk about.
Exactly. That's
here on
the
TBTL.
name of the show today. And I wrote this note to myself because suddenly I was like, what we need to talk about is also how we feel today, because today is a big day. We're going to make an announcement.
Yes.
So how do I feel? I feel excited and a little, I don't know, weirdly anxious, but nothing bad is happening. This is all good news today.
Everything's good.
I just feel like, today is a day where we might have maybe more listeners than usual. So maybe that makes me nervous.
More listeners even within the company where we currently work.
Exactly.
So we better just get to it here and do an un-TBTL thing, which is just kind of... But this is a very TBTL thing. I loaded in the overly long drum roll drop. This is...
Yeah, before we get to it, can you tell me where you got this drop from? What's the origin of it?
Hold on, let me play it again, and I'll tell you all about it. The big announcement is that starting July 3rd, TBTL is going independent again. TBTL 4 Independence Week.
Jalapeno! Jalapeno! Jalapeno!
How do you feel that went?
I think that. Wait, are we bringing Shep Smith with us on this journey?
We were able
not?
to get the IP.
Okay, well, fantastic.
A lot of lawyers had to spend a lot of billable hours getting us that Shep Smith clip, but we've got it.
We get to keep that audio?
We do. We were allowed to take 7 audio drops with us, and I decided that was going to be one of them. This is the other one we're allowed to bring.
Yes, he does.
Oh, good. That was worth every penny.
And then this.
Oh la la!
Oh, good. Yeah.
Oddly, we can't bring Tom Shane. We've lost
Let
this
the
one.
fun
Oh,
begin.
no.
Probably,
Well,
I don't think the listeners are that sad about that one.
Yeah,
They're
probably
like,
not.
That's
No,
probably, we've heard enough.
We are bringing all of our audio with us as we start a new chapter of TBTL. We are going to go independent once again, but this time it's going to be like a real business, Luke. Sometimes you talk about the days of running TBTL out of your basement and packaging up posters at the last minute and trying to mail them from your own personal mailbox. But this time we are kind of ending our chapter with American Public Media later on this summer, and we're going to relaunch independently. And let me just get out in front of it. No, guys, we weren't fired. Why would you think that?
I can think of some reasons.
Oh, they've listened.
I want you to know that
right.
I had "Did we get fired?" question mark as my third bullet point for this part
sorry to
of
jump
the show.
the gun there.
No, I think honestly, I think you're addressing the elephant in the room. Usually, when people talk about pursuing new horizons and endeavors, it's because they also were told they're no longer allowed to pursue the horizons of the company they worked at.
Exactly. I was really pleased, like literally as we speak, let's see here, it's 10 o'clock a.m. West Coast time. It's actually 10:08, which means 8 minutes ago, the internal memo went out to all of our friends and colleagues at American Public Media. And I see that I'm starting to get various Slack messages and emails that I'm not looking at right now because I want to concentrate on what we're doing. But I was so pleased. I got to see the note that is being sent out by our bosses, and I was really pleased that they didn't use the phrase Luke and Andrew are going to spend more time with their family, because to me that means that you are leaving in disgrace. And I promise you, while the show may at times be disgraceful and my performance may be disgraceful, we are not leaving APM. We're actually leaving APM because we felt like it was a really good time for you and I to sort of try something new, try something adventurous, try something that'll be really good for the tens of listeners. But also, I got to say, it's been really cool working with everybody at APM who totally understand what we're doing, why we're doing this, and it's been really great working with them as we kind of go down this path. That's true, by the way. That sounded like PR BS, but that's all true.
I find it to be fairly sinister what they're doing at APM, if you want to know the truth of the matter. Because they've been so cool about this that it's making me already sort of regret the decision.
Like fight a little bit?
Yeah, and also just everyone's just been so gracious and helpful. If you want to take a show like ours, which has been at APM for years, and certainly as a significant part of the donation base and things like that, and you never know how that's going to go. And we always, we've liked our colleagues at APM and really appreciated them, but we've also had I have had, I'll only speak for myself, very limited interaction with the APM mothership. So you have much more to do with the folks there. But every time we need help from them, they're super helpful. We've just felt so supported. But like you said, it seems like TBTL's like long-term interest in survival and APM On Demand's long-term interest in survival may sort of just diverge in terms of the kind of content we're looking to make, the way that the finances are sort of handled and the money is raised. And we love them. They tolerate us. It's a very amicable splitting. But since we had our meetings now like months ago saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and kind of strike back out on our own, everyone has become even more kind and helpful. And I just feel like it's part of a plan by them to make us feel really terrible. And also, what do they know that we don't know about the TBTL bottom line?
Well, here's the deal. I can't go with you on all of that. I think it's been a very nice experience. But
so you're not
I will
resenting
say
our colleagues. Okay, speak for yourself.
One red flag for me was when we were kind of nervous and we told our boss for the first time a month ago or whatever it was that we were going to do this. And they already had the paperwork ready. Now that seems strange.
And
to
I
me.
had signed my form of the documents.
I don't even know how that worked.
Which was weird. The ink was well dry from my side.
It was the one email you returned from your colleagues at APM. Weirdly.
So that's the big announcement. What does this mean for you, the tens of listeners? Well, almost nothing. In that we are we'll be sending the show out ideally along the same frequency, along the same RSS feed, so you should continue to get the show as you have been receiving it. If all of and this is where Andrew, this is where you're going to really earn your money because this is a technical feat, but I trust that you and the APM folks can figure it out. But you'll still get the email in your feed. Now, a big thing is we are going to be starting
in your feed, right?
What'd I call it?
The email in the feed that you just pulled.
I've been sending an email in the RSS feed.
You just pulled it, Andrew. It was so nice to see somebody else do it for a change.
The other thing is we're starting, maybe this is where my brain was going, we're starting a new TBTL newsletter, a new TBTL email, because that was one thing we were not allowed legally to bring from APM. So we're still sending things out there, but what we really need you to do, if you want to keep up with what we're doing on TBTL, is make sure you subscribe to the new newsletter or email. Andrew, maybe you can handle that. That's more your area of expertise.
Yeah, so just to talk logistics here for a little bit, we are still part of the APM family through midsummer until the end of June. And so you'll continue to, receive weekly Friday dispatches from me if you've signed up for the TBTL newsletter. But all of those newsletters from now until June are going to be encouraging you to sign up for a new newsletter, because obviously when we leave APM, we won't be using that email list anymore, right? And so we need everybody who wants to continue to receive emails after June to sign up for the new TBTL email list. And you can do that by keeping an eye on your inbox, because an email is going out later today with more details on that. Or you can go to tbtl.net. By the time this podcast posts, I'll have a website up there, a little announcement page at tbtl.net that says sign up for the new TBTL newsletter. You can tell it's news because it says extra on the little badge. I wanted it to be as blunt as possible.
There's a newsie on there.
It literally says
there's a plucky little Christian Bale.
And that's that. And then if you're a donor to the show, this is really important as well, I think.
Yes.
If you're somebody who is a monthly donor to the show, in other words, money is automatically withdrawn from your account and it goes to support TBTL via APM, that will be automatically shut off. You don't have to do anything. That will automatically stop on whatever the last day of June is. And then starting on July 3rd, you and I will be relaunching as TBTL 4, I guess. This is the fourth phase.
Yeah, that's my math. Although I'm notoriously bad at math. So I kind of had TBTL, the radio show.
Mm-hmm.
That was phase 1.
Yep.
A TBTL at my house being held up by a stick, which it turns out, looking back on it, now that we're forming a real business, Andrew, I realize that was not a real business. That was a PayPal account and a certain amount of T-shirts getting sent out. That's TBTL 2. And then partnering with APM, that's TBTL 3. And so this now striking back out on our own, but as a actually legitimate business with like lawyers and an operating agreement and the things that you have as a business, as an LLC, TBTL 4, that's my count.
Yeah, and that's going to, and we're relaunching this as TBTL 4. And again, we say relaunch, but if everything goes according to plan, your podcast will appear exactly the same place it always has when you wake up in the morning. Actually, I guess we post this in the afternoon on July 3rd. And I think it's okay to say this, Luke, you and I didn't talk about this explicitly, but we'll be coming out of the gates, right, with our TBTL-a-thon right away, because the thing about quitting your job is you don't have any money to produce a show.
Which brings me, Andrew, to the thing that I really would like to, in the most polite and non-nudgy way, emphasize for folks. If there's ever been a TBTL-a-thon wherein the show is hanging in the balance, it will be this coming TBTL-a-thon, because we literally will be hoping to raise enough money to pay ourselves and pay our taxes so that we can continue doing this for our job. So it's going to be of critical importance that we, if you're able to support us, if you've been supporting us and you feel like you can continue, that would be great. If you've never supported TBTL, this would be a great time to jump into the shallow end of the pool, because it's sort of a bit unknown for us, really. And I guess when it was just me sort of doing it at my house and I had the PayPal account set up, that was nerve-wracking, but I didn't feel like I also had someone else's life and mortgage riding on it, Andrew. And now that it's you and me, I have to say, somehow this feels really exciting, but also a little more scary to me, because I just feel like we've both gone all in on this. And I tend to land on my feet, but I'm like, I don't know if you'd land on your feet.
Okay,
I worry about
this
you.
is financially.
I worry about
this
you.
This is starting off great. It's true though. I mean, this is a huge risk we're taking. As we do form this business, and we are starting a business. Should we say what it's called?
Too Beautiful to Biz.
True story.
Look it up. It's registered, state of Washington.
So we are starting a legit
I got some
business.
looks from the people at U.S. Bank when I was setting up the business banking account. She was like, how do you spell that?
And we're going to have like real expenses. Like as we're looking at how this show is produced now in 2023, it's different than it was back in 2014 or 13.
The
whenever
price
it
of
was before we
sticks
joined.
has gone up.
Yes, it certainly has.
So much in the last 10 years.
And, there are roles that we're going to need help with, that we're going to be hopefully bringing some people on board to help us out with. Like these are like real. This is a real operation with real expenses, and I don't want to get into fundraising mode right now. You'll hear all about it, but we'll be very transparent with you. Like, if anything, this is going to make everything even more transparent because the money is coming directly to TBTL, and you will see what the money goes towards. And in order to have a successful thon, that's where we go back to this new email that I set up. If you want to follow along, find out how you can help the show, find out what our timelines are. We want to maybe use this new email list to send out some video updates between now and July 3rd to kind of let you know how things are going. So again, you go to tbtl.net or just look for the email that I'll be sending out later today to sign up for that. And while I'm on a ramble here, Luke, and I can feel myself, I'm just starting just now. How far into the show are we? About 15 minutes to slide into sentimentality. But the truth of the matter is, and I swear this is true, we are not doing this because this is going to be a get-rich-quick scheme. We're not doing this.
I think it's a get-poor-slow scheme.
I'm hoping slow. We are honestly, and this is the truth, every conversation Luke and I had about this, as it started as a small germ of an idea that got a little bit more serious as we talked about it, it is strictly for the benefit and the future of TBTL and the TBTL audience, and that's you guys and the TBTL community. The reason we're leaving APM is not because anything is necessarily wrong. We love APM, and APM is producing some great shows that I've always been proud to be kind of on the slate with. But the thing is, TBTL is unique. Like, I just cannot think of another show that has this kind of community and this kind of funding mechanism. And while it is true that, not to get corny, but the industry, or not to get corporate sounding, but the podcast industry keeps on shifting, and we keep seeing it shift around us. And we really think the most important thing is for us to steer this ship and for us to have control of this, as we like to say, relatively boutique operation we're running, but it's a strong community. And the most important thing here is that we keep TBTL and the community around it strong and flexible enough going into the future. And that is honestly why we're doing this.
Yeah, and I want to address one thing too. And I know that, I think by this point we've probably, most of the APM folks have hopped off. So probably.
Okay, let's get real.
No, this is, like you said, talking about the kind of podcast media landscape. The reality of the world of podcasting is you got to run a lot of ads now. At least a lot of shows have to run a lot of ads, and that's the business model. It's not a particularly effective business model for TBTL because the amount of money that our downloads generate for the ads, and I've explained this many times, or tried to, but the way that the ads work, the Carvana ads and the such that you hear on this show, work is, somebody buys up a certain number of impressions, 100,000 impressions or however many, and then those just get kind of plugged into different shows. But TBTL is only receiving the percentage that's based on how many people we have tuning in, which again, this is a fairly boutique product. In other words, for us, running a bunch of ads is not the path to financial victory. The way that we stick around as a show is by making sure that we super serve our P1s, i.e. the tens of listeners, i.e. not making you listen to a bunch of ads that are a drop in the bucket compared to what your donations are. And so something that's going to be positive for TBTL going forward is that it may be years before we have another ad, only because I don't know if we have enough downloads to go out and sell ourselves on the open market to advertisers. So, and again, that's not even a criticism of APM because that's what you have to do in the world of podcasting. But TBTL is this bizarro thing that has a different business model. So that's something that I think is going to be a real positive for you, the listeners, is there will be far fewer ads. Again, probably zero.
Yeah, the good thing for you is we're unmarketable is the word Luke is looking for.
Truthfully, and that was something I think, Andrew, that you and I struggled with, and which was the things that we need to make sure are happening for TBTL in relation to our listeners and our donors are, well, first of all, very critical to the show's survival, and sometimes kind of operating on a different wavelength than the needs of a larger network that we're a part of. And that's not a criticism of the network, it's not a criticism of TBTL, but we just want to make sure that we are really taking care of you, our listeners, so that you will keep listening, and ideally, maybe, if you can, help support the show, and then we can keep doing this for our job, for the next 4,000 episodes. Mm-hmm. So I guess my point is, just to echo what you were saying, Andrew, this decision really and truly was made 100% because we think it will be best for the show and for you, the listeners, not because we think there's any particular gold in them thar hills. In fact, as we started doing the numbers, let's do the numbers. I was like,
you can't do that
okay.
anymore. Once we leave APM, the Kai Rizdal imitation stays behind.
They did, and I can no longer tell them about our fried pickles. One of the greatest bits from The Simpsons ever, when Apu is kicked out of the Quickie Mart and they take away his pricing gun and the pricing gun on his ankle holster, and they take the patch off that says, "Ask me about our fried pickles." Anyway, all of this really is something that is creating a certain amount of agita for us. We think it's going to work out. We're hopeful. But this really was a thing that we decided to do because we just want to make this show work the best for our listeners. And so that's what we're going to try to do. And hopefully everything turns out okay.
Yeah, and if I can just tack onto the end of that, I just want to say how appreciative I am for American Public Media, of you, of course, but also in a certain way, for bringing me on board way back in 2012.
That was a joke,
as a fan
by the way.
of the
Thank
show.
you
I
for
know, but no, I am.
humoring me.
I'm happy to be. I'm obviously being part of the show.
During this window of sincerity, I need to throw down whatever asks I have.
The window of sincerity. I think there's a window of sincerity. I think in my neighborhood. I think if you need some food or a book or anything,
sure.
they give it to you. But book of poetry. But that didn't really go anywhere. What I was gonna say was I am really grateful. Yes, to you, to TBTL. I'm very lucky, maybe I should say, that this has become my main gig. I mean, or even just that I've been a part of it since 2012. But then back when APM hired us, I think that was 2013, Luke, or whatever. It's been 8 years. Like, first of all, when we started with APM, I really, really thought like, well, we're gonna get fired. They'll probably give us a full year. Maybe they have to legally give us a year before they fire us. Like, I remember.
They're in Minnesota. They got to be at least Minnesota nice. They got to give us a year on
the
this.
long goodbye. Exactly. Like, we would joke, but sort of as Genevieve says, we'd sort of kid on the square about like, I don't know, do you think the bosses at APM are even hearing this? Like, do the higher ups actually know that we are a podcast on this fledgling network? And now here it is. I cannot believe we just celebrated our 8th anniversary with American Public Media, and it's got to be like, when you think about the things that we did, I mean, even from on a day-to-day basis, the job that I have had working with you, dialing up every morning, talking about whatever we want to talk about, and then mixing in events with listeners, the picnics, the doing live shows on a boat, but then also just like the just absolutely bananas things that APM let us do, sometimes by not telling the lawyers until it was too late, but hitchhiking from the Midwest to the southern United States, like literally driving from the southern point of Australia up to the most northern point of Australia through the outback. Like, those are just some of the, I just can't imagine having experiences like that in any of my other fields of work, and so I'm really appreciative.
It was the sort of most perfect amount of benign neglect.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean, or like benevolent neglect. In other words, APM really, and this was through many management changes. The one consistent was they really just let us be us, which I very much appreciated because this is a weird show, and I could see a world in which a lot of managers want to come in and say, they're doing what? They're going where? Like, everyone who came through was supportive, was like, yeah, we get that TBTL is its own kind of bizarro thing, and just let us do our thing. Like, we couldn't have asked for a better, group of managers and colleagues and people doing the support stuff. Like, we got really, really lucky over the last 8 years, which is also part of what makes us a little bit complicated because, like, we're kind of jumping, like, it's not like we're jumping off a boat that's like, taking on water. We're jumping off a pretty good boat into a much smaller boat.
Yes, we're jumping off a boat that keeps on getting improved.
Yeah, and has like a crew. And now we're literally jumping in that boat that's our current logo. I just realized.
Yeah.
And we're going to start start rowing and seeing sort of how it goes. Now, I will tell you another thing that I feel will be a great improvement, and I hope we can explore this more, Andrew, as the weeks go on. You and I received an email yesterday from our direct supervisor, Beth Perlman, reminding us that we were overdue on our cyber training.
It's your lucky day. You just found a USB flash drive in the parking lot.
And asking us if we could please complete our cybersecurity training. Now, I didn't think that email was worth the paper it was emailed on because even Beth said, I don't know what the penalty is. And then you, Dr. Goodboy, by the way, a lesser Motley Crue record.
No, the
He's
best.
the one they call Dr. Goodboy.
Oh, the best.
You did the cyber training yesterday, you freak.
Well, I have to. We're still
Why
with
do you
8.
have to?
We're with 8 p.m. for another 2.5, 3 months. Like if
You
I don't
think
fix
you can't kick that can down the road for 2.5 months?
it was honestly easier just to take. They have these smaller cyber trainings now that you can actually watch on double speed. So I was like, and it was like that is so much less time for me than having to keep on
to dodge emails.
to put Beth, who I love, in between me and the IT/HR department. But I did twist the knife a little bit when I took a screen grab of the Good Boy screen that said, "Congratulations, you just completed your cybersecurity training."
And you CC'd me on it.
Oh yeah,
you sent it to Beth.
I sent it to both of you. I said, "Balls in your court, Burbank."
I believe that was literally what you said. I could not believe how you did me dirty like that.
Yeah, Beth sent us the sweetest
Yes,
note,
she did.
asking us kindly to do this and admitting that. I mean, you can probably get away with it, Luke, because you don't.
You know how much it will damage my brand if I do a cybersecurity training for a job that I will only have for 2.5 more months, or at least at a place. I mean, that's anathema to everything I live for. But now you're making me feel like I should, because the thing you said that warmed this heart of stone was the idea of Beth having to run interference with IT people, because that's not fair to her.
No, I don't want.
And I like Beth a lot. I don't want to put her in that position.
We'll get Beth on the show maybe next week. I don't think Beth has ever been on the show before, but Beth is a delight, and we need to check in with her at some point. Anyways, she can maybe give us an exit interview or send us on our way or whatever. But we should try to get her maybe on the show next week or soonish, so the listeners can meet her. But I also. And this is sort of a weird time to bring this up, but very quickly before we move on. You would like
a raise?
Well, yeah. But do you really think that there's not going to be cybersecurity training in the new business? What do you think that, of course, I'm going to be setting up cybersecurity training for you and whoever else is working with us.
I think what you should do is you should do kind of a sit down, do a download with Beth about what it's like to try to manage me regarding cyber training.
I think I have a
sense.
And
then just, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying go in with your eyes and ears open. Mm-hmm. Go in knowing what it's going to be like to try to get me to do. I mean, listen.
What if I make a coloring book? What if I make a cybersecurity coloring book or activity book?
I mean, Andrew, the irony is, if you wanted me to tell you about the Azure Virtual Desktop, I mean, we could get into a lot of the deep recesses of cybersecurity, considering that one of my other big gigs is hosting the. Oh, I want to next week on the show. I'm actually very excited to play this for you, Andrew. So I've recorded a lot of these videos for a big software concern that are their cybersecurity training, and also there's a lot of kind of modules and things that you look at on your computer screen that's like voiceover from me associated with text and things. And I had to just record a bunch of it the other day, and one of the producers said, "Oh, you might get a kick out of this." What they had done, actually what someone there had done, was created an AI version of my voice. They had fed the program my actual, what my speaking voice sounds like, and then used it to basically generate all of the voiceover so they could time everything out. So they would know kind of how long all of this text would take to read, but they wanted it to be as similar to me as possible. So they made AI Luke, and I have tape of what the AI thinks I sound like.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
I'm excited to play that. Maybe on Monday we can play that.
Are you worried that I might like the AI Luke more?
No, I know you will, because that AI takes all of the training that they're supposed to do.
It is the training.
It is. It's learning. Now, listen, I will say this, Andrew. I'm not super confident this could happen, but I would look forward to the day that Too Beautiful to Biz is a robust enough concern that we have to and we get to have lots of things like training and a full-time HR person and things. I mean, that would be great. If we get to that day, I will happily take any and all training. If we can get this thing off the ground and make it into something, that's more than just you, me, and a stick. I'm down for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to dream big here. I think right now this first year is going to be, if we can be transparent about it even more, this first year is really going to be about kind of seeing where we are, if we can be successful with this, which I think we can be. But then down the road, I would love to be not just a podcast, but several podcasts that include more voices. And so we've talked about that, but I think the first year is really going to be concentrating on the survival of TBTL and this new business. I love it too. Why won't you take Too Beautiful to Biz seriously? Why won't you take it seriously?
For all of the things that you and I have been in so many meetings over the last few months to try to just kind of make decisions, and there's a lot that goes in. There's much more that goes into this than I realized. Let me just say that. But of all the things that we overthought, the name Too Beautiful to Biz was not one of them.
No,
I think
wasn't.
you literally said, what if we called it Too Beautiful to Biz? And I was like, that's fine. And as I was like on the Secretary of State's website, I was like, that's the name of the company.
That sounds good. Yeah. I know a lot of people are going to, because I still get a lot of emails and jokes about this. We created an imaginary podcast network called Disposable Media, and people will still email me about that quite a bit. In fact, I think somebody just emailed me recently, and was it listener Danny, one of our lawyers in New Hampshire, who said, by the way, I have
who have been zero help, by the way, in this process. We've got a team of Dannies, and yet we've had to retain outside counsel for this.
Don't say that. That'll hurt their feelings. But anyway, I don't have a good answer for that other than like in the moment, it just sort of sounded like maybe it was one of those things where we had joked about it for so long that we wanted something that sounded a little bit different or new, or maybe not a joke. Although Too Beautiful to Biz is not
I feel
the
like
most
there's
serious
some
name.
other, operating as, this is when it gets really interesting, Andrew. Operating as Too Beautiful to Biz. That's just the name of the company, but we could, if we were to form some kind of smallish network and bring some other shows in, we could call that whatever we want to call it. I don't think we're going to call the network Too Beautiful to Biz.
No, I don't think so
I think
either.
that, unless the whole
That would
network
be
is about
awful.
the music of Biz Marquee, in which case I would support that.
That would be good.
But Disposable Media, for all the fun we had with it, I also just feel like there are a lot of other networks and things that are named things that are close to that. Like if I hear it's like Dirk Diggler, I want to name that Cuts Glass.
Yes, Dirk Diggler. I wasn't exactly sure. I wasn't sure if Dirk Diggler was if that was a good analogy or a bad analogy.
Well, that's
or if
what he
we're
says in
calling
the
our
movie.
company Dirk
I
Diggler.
believe that's Marky Mark's explanation of why he loves the name Dirk Diggler, because he says it just cuts glass.
Well, there you
And then I
go.
believe
Dirk
there's an
Diggler
explosion.
Productions.
You've got the touch. You've got the power.
No, what's on the tapes is ours.
Yes, I know. That's an MP. MP, YP. I don't understand this industry jargon.
Okay.
Oh, man. I just want to mention real quickly, and then we should go to the break. I'm not going to get specific because I didn't check in with you about this, Andrew, but we do have some plans together for this year's TBTLathon. We've secured a location. We're putting a plan together. I think it's going to be delightful for the listeners. But I just want to reiterate that week, July 3rd, right? So 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th?
Yes, I think
That first
Friday's
week-
the 7th. Yeah.
That first week of us being independent is also going to be, I know you already said this, Andrew, but I just want to stress, that's also going to be the thon. And all of the conventional wisdom around fundraising in public radio, which, by the way, we are not going to be technically public radio after this. It'll be a for-profit company, meaning, you don't have to pay
board.
taxes.
Yeah.
We don't have a board. We're not a 501c3. We're hoping that y'all will, just ride along with us on that. But I will probably continue to refer to us as public radio because it's burned in my brain. All of the conventional wisdom around fundraising for a show like we're doing is definitely don't do it in the summertime when people are on vacation. And for the love of God, don't do it on a holiday week. Don't do it on like the 4th of July week when probably maybe more Americans than any other time in the year will be out cavorting and, camping and upon the lake and whatever. So this is, on paper, possibly the worst week we can do this. But I think, again, see previous comments about TBTL being its own weird thing. I think we can still have a successful thon, even though we're doing it on... now, on the other hand, thematically, the optics, TBTL Independence Week. It couldn't be better.
Right. Yeah, that is true. But yeah, so that just to look ahead to that week, July 4th is a Tuesday, which means I know a lot of people will probably be taking long holiday weekends. So
Or the week.
Or the entire week off. So yeah, I mean, aside from maybe the week of December 25th, this is probably like one of the worst times to be holding a fundraiser. With
I would say even worse.
You think
because
so?
even in December, it's cold out. People are like running errands, but they're in their car. They're getting holiday presents. It's like, this is spectacularally bad timing. I guess my point is vacations are canceled this year, Tim. Nobody
You're
go
listening
anywhere. We
to
need
TBTL.
That's right. Mommy, why can't we go to the fireworks? Because they're live streaming and we're in the central time zone, dear.
Yeah, we are going to try to live stream those shows that week from the location, which is will remain undisclosed at this moment. But we're trying to do some fun
But
stuff.
will be disclosed, I promise you.
Yeah, it will be
at some point.
disclosed. It's a fun venue. I don't know how you locked it down. We're going to try to do
I know some people.
IRL meetups, I think, maybe that week or at the end of that week here in Seattle. Nothing for sure yet, but we're really trying.
Okay. You just hedged. I thought we were. I'm just gonna. Can
Okay,
I
do it,
just,
yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
With me saying this?
Am I okay?
I mean,
no, but say what you want.
See, that's great. I love that you're pushing yourself. Our plan is to do a live event on that Saturday night. Let's see, July the 8th.
Yeah.
Our plan is so that it'll be the Thon week, and then we want to do a celebratory get-together somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, hopefully somewhere conveniently located for everyone. So we're going to do a live show, which we haven't done in forever.
Yes.
That's going to be an exciting, triumphant return.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, aside from like doing our silly things where we're doing
people's
shows
driveways.
in people's driveways or what have you, I cannot even remember the last
boat
time you and
show.
I like took a. Yeah, I guess the boat show was the end of that little mini tour we took right before the pandemic. So, yeah, that'll be fun and exciting. We don't, we need to we're not withholding the location. We don't have a venue yet or anything, but that is our plan to see if we can do an actual old-fashioned TBTL live show on the 8th of July.
Yes, so circle that on your calendars, please. And also just that whole week, write it in the tablet of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to help us keep doing this. So anyway, I'll stop now. I don't want my anxiety to turn the next 3 months into a 3-month rolling fundraiser. So you got to hold me accountable on that, Andrew.
Yeah, okay. But it is, I mean, I think it's okay to emphasize here. I don't want to exhaust the listeners, but I think it's okay to emphasize how important that fundraiser will be. But also, I think that this is, from a listener standpoint, the one last thing I'll say about the content is I think this is going to be a really interesting time to listen to the show. As you mentioned, Luke, there's been a lot of phases of TBTL over the years, and I do think that each phase brings with it a new sort of energy and new things to talk about as we sort of try to tackle new problems, both as individuals and as a show, and learn new things. And also, by the way, I've been thinking about this too. I literally have some listeners that I've written on the tablet of my heart that I'm thinking about reaching out to because we're going to need some help with some things, some expertise with some things. And
I was talking to one of them last night after Livewire,
Yeah.
and I said, there may be some things regarding the RSS feed that you know more about than we do.
Yeah, well, you and I may be thinking of the same person. I don't know who it could be. Danny in New Hampshire? But so anyway, I do think that it's going to be kind of an exciting time. And right now, you asked me again, as the Post-it note says on my thing here, how are we feeling? I'm really excited that we can bring the listeners in on this now. We've had a lot of conversations amongst ourselves and, of course, talking with our friends and colleagues at APM about how we're going to make this all work. And now that we can talk about it on the show, I'm really excited.
Yeah. It's, I mean, most of the next 2 months are going to be about basically tax structure for LLCs.
Right, exactly.
And, just the absolute, just the deepest minutia of forming a small business.
Yeah.
I have to say also, and then we really will get to the break, because we have some dazzling donors to thank, because we got to keep this train rolling. I'm sorry, I want to circle back to the business thing, but I just want to say one other thing, because I want to make super clear what's going to happen on June 30th is APM will cancel everyone's donations. So if you're still donating through that mechanism, it will turn off immediately and automatically. But that will not in any way transport you over to the new system.
No.
That's a totally voluntary thing and something that we're really hoping we can get off the ground. So look for that email, and please start following the new TBTL newsletter and email. That's going to have all of the info. Go to tbtl.net if you need to, because there's some information there as well, I believe. But the thing I was going to say about business is just us starting up this little business, which is, a fairly humble enterprise. It has given me so much respect for anyone who runs a small business. And we have a lot of listeners who run small businesses, and some listeners who probably run medium businesses and even large businesses. But like the complexity of it, it's really not something that comes naturally to me. Like there are some things I think I have sort of a knack for. The details of running a legitimate business and all of the I's that have to be dotted, T's that have to be crossed, things you have to think about, conversations you and I have had, Andrew, about just like, what would happen if something happened to one of us? What would happen to the business? What, like contractually, what does it look like? I'm just like, every time I walk by an espresso cart, I'm like, damn, you did it. Like, holy shit. How is anyone running a business anywhere? Like, it's so complicated and there's so many things to keep track of. Like, it is way, way, way out of my natural comfort zone and outside of anything that sort of, again, comes naturally to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm not somebody who lights up at the mention of payroll taxes and how the hell do they work. But
They're like magnets.
we're going to learn, and we're going to be hopefully supported by some very knowledgeable people, and already have been in some ways. So
yes, no, I mean, and I don't want that. I don't want the listeners to get scared. I'm not saying that we're not doing all that stuff. I'm just saying it has really given me an appreciation for, like Becca's brother and his wife, they own a couple of bars here in Portland, 21st Avenue Pub and R&R, a couple of great bars, by the way, free plug. But like, I've been talking to him, Scott, about just little kind of business conversations and a couple questions, how do you do this and that? I mean, dude's got like 40 employees. I don't know, like, and actually owns a totally unrelated business that has to do with like, semi trucks and how much they weigh and a device that weighs the truck.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's insane. Like, how can you have a business with 40? I can't. We have 2 employees, Andrew, and we don't even have those employees until July 3rd, and I don't know how we're going to do this.
Well, what about this? And I don't think we're going to get to this story today, probably, but this is a very side issue. But I am thinking about this Motley Crue story that you sent to me. There's some like lawsuit going on between one of the members of Motley Crue and the rest of the band, and ever since we realized, hey, we're doing this, we're taking the plunge, we're starting a business, I've been, as you'd expect, Luke, just super chill and figuring we'll just go with the flow. No, I've been a big big ball of anxiety, of course. And now when I'm listening to the radio, listening to the news, I should say, or reading something, and I hear about somebody's business or some part of a business, I'm like, oh, is that something? Like, I don't know anything about this. And I'm reading this Motley Crue article, and you get to the end, and they list all of the different businesses. It's not just Motley Crue LLC. It's Motley Crue LLC, Motley Crue Golden Records, Motley Crue Touring. And it's like, oh, they're such a big business that, of course, we're not Motley Crue. But they've started like 15 different LLCs to move their money around.
That was literally the part of the story that was the most interesting to me.
Sorry if I spoiled it.
No. I just mean it's funny how you and I go to the exact same place in an article like that. I was like, this is a funny thing that there's 15 different LLCs related to Motley Crue. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and then why don't we just talk about that when we get back?
Yeah,
I think it's relevant. Well,
I mean, you and I are going to end up suing each other, so we might as well.
Exactly, and if you try to cut me out of future merch sales that involve my replacement, like they're trying to do to Mick Mars, you're gonna have a big lawsuit on your hands, Mr. Walsh. So yeah, let's take a break, and we'll come back. We'll talk Motley Crue in a moment here on TBTL.